Hello everyone. I'm your host today. My name is Rodrigo, and we are here today with The Green is the New Black, by oikos Lisbon, a student club from Nova SBE. Today I'm here with Filipa, who is an associate at Position Green in Copenhagen and a former student of Nova SBE and a oikos Lisbon alumni. Thank you so much for agreeing to this interview and taking the time to be here with us, Filipa.
Thank you for inviting me.
Uh, so let's start off, Filipa. Please tell us a little bit about your backstory until the position you are in now, both academically, professionally, everything and anything you feel comfortable sharing with us today.
Yes, so I did my undergrad in economics at Nova SBE, like you mentioned previously. And right from the beginning of my undergrad, I joined what at the time was Green Nova and now is oikos Lisbon. And that was because I already had a little bit of a curiosity around sustainability and wanted to learn a bit more about it, and thought that with the university clubs, that was a great way to explore an interest. So yeah, I was a part of oikos all throughout my undergrad. And also during that time, it was for me to reflect what I wanted to do in terms of a job, if it was more related to economics or more related to sustainability, or maybe something completely different. And actually, by the time that I graduated, I didn't know, I didn't have an answer. At the time, sustainability was mostly seen as the corporate social responsibility in big companies, so not really very data driven or yeah, as hard as it is today. And so I wasn't sure if that was something that I wanted. So I decided to take a bit of a break and work full time to kind of find out what I wanted to do as work and what type of tasks I enjoyed and didn't enjoy doing. So I actually took a 1.5 year break to work. I worked in project management, both in London and in Lisbon. And during that time, I took some time to do some research on what type of master degrees were available and what I could continue to study to perhaps work in sustainability. And so then I moved to Copenhagen to do my master's in environmental economics at Copenhagen University. And when I arrived in Copenhagen, I also joined oikos Copenhagen. So I wanted to also continue with that legacy. And something that is very common here in Copenhagen is that students have student jobs. So at the same time that you are doing your master's or your bachelor's, you're also working part-time at a company. And so that's what I did. I did my best to try and find jobs in sustainability, and was actually able to do so with the help of also like some colleagues. And yeah, so I graduated back in last January and continued to work in sustainability, but just full time this time.
Yeah, that's really important to hear because oikos Lisbon and other student clubs are just for that. So students realize what they're interested in, so they can pursue their interests in a professionally manner and in their careers.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
and it's really wonderful because I didn't know yet when you went to the club, it was still Green Nova. So it's really nice
Yeah.
to hear from someone who was when the back when the club started. Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, Now you talked a little about Position Green, but can you explain briefly to our listeners who are not aware of the company, what the overall object of the company? Yeah.
Yeah. So Position Green is offers like sustainability solutions, and it's kind of a special company because there's two pillars. So on one hand, it's a software company. We provide software solutions for data management for ESG. But on the other hand, there's also a pillar of advisory where we provide kind of like a consultancy business where we can help clients with their journey, not just in the data management side. So yeah, it's just the way I work in the advisory side. So I work more with the consultancy style side of the business.
And what's your like daily life at the company? So what are some of your jobs tasks so just for our listeners to know what they can expect in a similar position? Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, because it's like the consultancy style, it's project based. So I'm usually staffed on different projects, and those projects can also have kind of like different themes to them. And right now, I think work in sustainability in general is very much related to the EU regulations that are just coming into effect. So a lot related with the CSRD. And so to me, my daily tasks are either working more on the side of the companies that are seeing this regulation for the first time and they need to make it happen for themselves and they don't really know how. So we help them get there through their various different ways. Or on the other hand, and this is actually the side that I work mostly on, is related with carbon accounting. So just doing the accounting of the greenhouse gas emissions that the companies are responsible for in the different points of their value chain. So the daily life depends a lot on the projects that you're staffed on, but I would say it's a good mix of client meetings, sitting and preparing with the data and finding out kind of like what should be good next steps. It's also for me a lot of Excel work. So in terms of turning data into final emissions calculations and then taking insights from that into how it can potentially be reduced.
That's really cool. Because I realized that greenhouse gases accounting, like the scope 3 and all, right? It's really
Mm-hmm.
hard to incorporate in the company's books and to realize how much the impact they have and how much they can reduce. But what do you think it's the most important part of that gives you a thrill? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say what's the most important part because at the end of the day, it's a big web of interconnected things. And also at this point, I think it's also very hard to see what will the real consequences of this new regulation be like. How will things actually change within the corporate world? But for me, what I enjoy the most is exactly that. I'm very analytical, so economics at Nova, I think that makes a lot of sense. So for me, it's really good when I get to receive all this data and sit with it and just like work it out in Excel models and make my own little calculations and assumptions. And yeah, and then have like the final value that is something tangible that we can work with.
Yeah. Do you feel like Denmark in general is more advanced in that aspects compared with Portugal, the rest of the European Union, or do you feel like what's their position in the scope?
Yeah, I think Denmark is a little bit of a front leading in this area. When I left Portugal, it was still like ESG was really not a topic of conversation. I know that now it's becoming more and more a thing that companies are concerned about and are working on. But I feel like Denmark is very much a step ahead in terms of that. There's way more career opportunities for young professionals in this area. Also, when I was looking at educational opportunities, there's a lot more offer in terms of master degrees that are somehow concerned with sustainability, either be it like in the more hard science side, like what I did, environmental economics, or even like business related degrees. That even if their main focus is not sustainability, there's always sustainability courses that universities offer that you can take as like an add on if this is something that you're interested in. So yeah, I think especially compared to Portugal, it is a topic that is way more present in everyday society.
Okay. Just to double back, you talked about belonging to oikos Copenhagen. So what do you feel like it's the interconnectedness of the club? Do you feel did you felt any differences from how they do things there? Or tell us a little bit of that experience there, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. At the end of the day, the core of the club and kind of like the people behind it and the goals are very similar. I think here in Copenhagen, they're an older chapter, so they were way more established with university. They had way more partnerships already within different departments of the university that then helped them have a bigger impact and a louder voice inside the university, not only in terms of what is the sustainability of the campus, but mostly in terms of like the educational opportunities that are being provided for students. How are they being accounted within sustainability? So I think that was one of the big differences that I felt, was that the club felt more integrated into the actual workings of the university, and not just kind of an add-on that was trying to create some change or add some value to the university. But yeah, I think in other ways, there's a lot of interconnections in terms of topics that we think are important and projects that we want to pursue. So I also noticed that a lot of the things that we had talked about in oikos Lisbon that were projects that we wanted to implement at the university, or things that we wanted to explore, were things that here in Copenhagen they had already done and already tried and had either seen it succeed or fail, or were also talking about it. So I really think that there's a lot of similarities, and it's something that I think is very beneficial if we talked more to each other in that sense, because it is like the global network. But from my experience, at the end of the day, it feels a little bit isolated, in the sense that when I was in Lisbon, I didn't really have much contact with people from other oikos chapters, and same here in Copenhagen, I didn't have much contact with people from other oikos chapters, but we really do have a lot in common. So it would be nice to for you guys to have more of that experience.
Yeah, I think that would be important to maybe just do like a consulting project with the two chapters on a company. I think that would be very beneficial for all the members. So that's something to talk about. Also, you talked about our interconnected like relation with the university itself. I think we are improving in the last few years, because I'm already in my third year of oikos. So I think that we are doing a lot more sustainability projects for the sustainability office at Nova. But yeah, I think it's growing, but still there's some room for improvement for sure. Uh, Now, just in your experience, like what did you did in the club? Like which department? You can also talk about in Copenhagen in chapter. Yeah, what your experience in the club?
Yeah, so in Lisbon, I was in the club for 3.5 years. And I think because of that, I did a bit of everything, really. So when I started, so it was still Green Nova at the time, and we were still at the old campus in Complete. This was 2016, to set the scene. And the main focus was more on raising awareness among students. So we had some projects to raise awareness. So to give you some examples, I don't know if you still have this, but the little papers in the bathroom that say on the paper
Ah,
towels,
yes, we
three is
still
too
do.
much, one is too little, take two. That was something that was a big that was created, I think, a little bit before I joined, so that was a big project at the time. We also had a paper collection project with the food bank, where if we could get like waste paper as much as we could get, then that would be converted into meals in the food bank. And we also had composting on campus as well. So we partnered up with the canteen, and we picked up organic food waste, and we would compost it on the campus ourselves. And then the idea would be that the gardeners would use that compost on the gardens of the campus. So that was kind of like the first phase of Green Nova. And then when the plan started to rise that we would move to the new campus in Kirkevelus, then it became a lot more about how can we help the university build this new campus and make this campus more sustainable. So it was more focused on that. But then when we actually moved to the new campus, they hired the chief sustainability officer, which I don't know if it's a role that is still present today, but there was at the time. So a lot of that more day-to-day operational, what should the campus look like, became more of that responsibility. So we started to think more like, okay, let's think bigger, and let's think more in terms of what could we actually do that would add value to the people of the club. And that was also around the time where we found out that oikos was like an international chapter, very similar to what we were already doing. So we started conversations with them to create oikos Lisbon and become a part of the international network, with that goal and that idea that it would be beneficial for students that were a part of the club to have that international component. Since Nova is already such an international university, it was just be that additional layer, and also the opportunity to learn from these chapters and see what had they done that worked in their universities. And for me personally, one of my last projects there was the environmental education department, which I'm also not sure if it still exists. But
Yes,
at the
it's my
time,
my department at the moment.
nice. But so at the time, I was also part of the International Amnesty chapter at Nova. And something that I did there was go to schools to do like educational sessions on human rights and what are human rights and why are they important. And it was something that I really enjoyed and thought brought a lot of value, not just in terms of what I saw the kids coming away with, but also what I took from the experience. So we created that department with the goal of interacting with children and teaching them about sustainability. We had a pilot with the school in Kakavelos to make it happen. And that was kind of where I left off. There were a lot of new ideas. We also started to put into works the idea of a corporate relations department, but I actually don't remember if it came to fruition at the time or only later.
At the
But
moment
yeah,
it is, but I don't know when it
that's
kick
good to
off.
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's nice to know. Yeah. And then here in Copenhagen, like I said, there were a lot more established. And here the main project was the Green Week. So they have this Green Week with the Copenhagen Business School (CBS), where they host kind of like a week long event full of lectures with professionals from the area. There's like little booths in the halls with both oikos people, but also like professional people. And so it was this big event that we all kind of contributed towards creating.
That's cool. Actually, we're just next semester we are going to have our third edition of the Green Talks, which is like
Mm-hmm.
a day dedicated where companies come to talk about their sustainability goals, where they are doing for towards their goals, the ESGs and all, which is a new project. So we are still changing some things, but I think it is like giving some fruits, and we are really enjoying like going through that process. Uh,
Yeah, I
n-
think.
no,
Oh, sorry, I was gonna
no,
say I
no.
think I was there last year, and yeah, I saw PwC talk, and that was
Ah,
really cool. Yeah.
cool. I didn't know that. Nice. So now we are reaching the end. I think one big important question is what do you think that oikos gave to your career? Do you think it was a valuable experience as a whole? Uh,
Yeah, I think definitely. I think in two main ways. So the first way being the opportunity to kind of explore curiosity. So kind of the idea that you have that space where stakes are low in general, so you get to try to do different things. And like I just mentioned, for example, with the environmental education, that was something I was interested in. So I had the possibility to just say, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try to make it happen. And I think that's really important in terms of one, learning kind of what you enjoy doing, and second, also learning to fail and have that really not matter, because it is a student club. And yes, things are important, but I think the main thing is exactly that, is that you get to try things out and you get to fail or succeed as many times as you want and have that proactiveness. And then on the other hand, I think it's the people. It's not only incredible to kind of feel like you're a part of that group of people that are all interested in the same topic and you get to sit together and discuss it, but I think, and now mostly here in Copenhagen, all of the friends that I have made at Oikos Copenhagen are now working in sustainability, off in their own fields and companies. So it's just this very strong network of people working in the same area that I'm working, that I made, that it's not just acquaintances, but it's actually people that I shared a friendship with and that I have no problem reaching out to. And that really helps in terms of career rise. So like all knowing what are your options, what are other companies doing, what is it like to work at other companies, but also kind of like, yeah, having that ability to share with each other what you're going through.
yeah, that's really cool to hear. I also made many friendships through oikos. So yeah, I'm not there at the point of working, but when I will get there, I will know that, yeah, I can compare
Yeah,
notes with people.
yeah, exactly.
Uh, Now, I would like to ask you if you have like a few words for our members and listeners who are trying to pursue a career in the same field as you.
Yeah, I would say this is a very like new-ish area. So I'd say my advice is to try and find maybe people who are working in companies that you want to work for or in areas that you find interesting and just try to talk to them to in terms of like what are their daily tasks and what do they enjoy most about the work that they're doing or where are the biggest challenges because I think it can be it's a very broad area so it can be very different if you're working in a consultancy or in a corporate or maybe in an NGO. Like those are very different types of work that you could be doing still in the same area. And then it's also very different if you want to focus more on the environmental side or on the social side. So my advice would just be to try and find those people and those companies and reach out to them to see if you would enjoy doing their job.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much for agreeing to this conversation. I hope you like it. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you also to our listeners, and hope you enjoyed this conversation with Filipa and you've learned something about this field as well. So this is the Green is you know Black of today. Once again, thank you for listening and see you next time.